Well, hello everyone. So it's been a while since my last update, and I wanted to share a little bit about what I've been working on. Nothing really, for the most part, too profound. What I decided to do about a month ago was look at my to-do list, which had grown to about 300 or 400 lines, I'd say, and just start tidying things up a little bit. As I push forward, I want to make sure I have a good foundation to build off of, and some of the things on the to-do list had been kind of annoying me, in particular bugs, but also anything that I thought would have significantly changed gameplay. I wanted to make sure I fix that before I try to design levels, because if I design levels around a bad idea, and then I change that, I have to go fix all the levels. So right now I have 6, which I think is a pretty good number. So one other thing I've been thinking about is maybe adding a little bit of polish to what I have so far. Not the whole thing, of course, but enough polish so that I can maybe put out a demo, see if I can get a little bit of feedback on how things are looking so far. And that got me thinking about the background story, because that's something I've always had a little bit of a kind of a grasp on, but since I've had some time to think about this a little bit and draw a little bit of draw a few cutscenes and things like that, I got to thinking about how to tell this story without necessarily big walls of text or fancy cutscenes or things like that. I put together a couple of basic, I guess you can call them animations. Of course, I'm doing everything myself, so my skills as an animator are very, very limited. But I'm pretty happy with the way my little cutscenes have come out. Of course, I have some static drawings and things like that can kind of tell the story. But I think what makes things more interesting is when you can tell the story through the background, through the levels. And that's actually kind of gotten me to think a little bit more in terms of world building. The Vallan Empire is the main antagonist in this game, and they've been around for a while. So some games I've made before, the Temple of Idasra for Stencil Jam in 2016, Towers of Vallas, which would be the Game Boy inspired game, a few spin-offs. This one I'm working on now originally started as my entry into Stencil Jam 2018, and of course my very, very first stencil game was Thief of Vallas, which was also this world. And it's actually changed quite a bit since its first incarnations. I'd say where I am now is pretty much based off of what I started in 2016 with Temple of Idasra. But rather than dump the whole backstory out now, let me kind of catch you up to where things pick up in this game. Which, by the way, this is a prequel to Towers of Vallas. So when the game begins, you got a cutscene, and we see Marika is running through the forest, running away from some unknown thing. Now, I guess call this spoilers, although the other spoiler is whether or not I stick to this. Here's the idea so far. So the Vallan Empire has uncovered some, for lack of a better word, ancient technology. Now, this game takes place in the future. Year 777, and I'm not sure if it's going to be 3 or 5, but somewhere around there. So the Vallan Empire has uncovered some hidden civilization, or some lost civilization. And the way this is happening is the sea levels are falling, and as they're falling, they're revealing ancient coastal cities. And of course, they want to get into them. Now, one of the little gimmicks with the Vallan Empire and the whole world in general is that there's no electricity. So they have, for one reason or another, I don't get into this, that technology has been lost completely. So everything is steam generation and gas and that kind of thing. So what's interesting about these cities is they're revealing themselves is that the Vallan Empire has started investigating them and noticed that there are some clues as to how electricity works. And as such, they are uncovering new technology, which is the name of one of the levels, actually. New technology, and that's what that's a reference to. So, in the beginning of the game, you have the cutscene. Marika is running through the forest away from this thing. This thing has come out of one of these ruins. And she doesn't know what it is, and no one in her city-state knows what it is. But she wants to know, of course. So, while all this is going on, the Valan Empire is encroaching on her city-state, which is called Larica for now, but I realize that's too close to Marika, so I may need to rename it. But, that's her home city, and the Valan Empire is, looking to annex it. Of course, she doesn't like that. For many reasons. Probably the only one that's noted so far is the Valan Empire is not that keen on scholars, and they want a tight control of knowledge. I'm not sure exactly how far to take this. Thinking about books in the game, actually, I want to work around that a little bit. Not that this is a Fahrenheit 451 kind of thing, but the Valan Empire does have a pretty tight control on information. And Marika's brother, Keda, who is introduced in the isometric, Game Boyish game, Towers of Vallas, he's a scholar, and as such is kind of an enemy of the Empire, at least to start with. And I'm not going to, there's a twist with him I'm not going to get into, because I have to have some secrets. So, there's a twist with him. But Marika, doesn't know where he is. So Keda is, missing for now. And that will be worked into the game somehow. But, her friend Rada, who was also introduced, is really just kind of a mechanic in the Towers of Vallas game. This guy. In Towers of Vallas, he's a prisoner, and he's, at this point I didn't know what the story would be. My only thought was, I needed some way to give the player some information about what they need to do in the rest of the game. So, Rada just serves to give Marika a few, little vague hints where to find these tower keys that he's talking about. And General Harris, which is a name I made up, and that's it. That's all he does. But Rada, I decided he's actually an interesting character, and so I want to work him into the game. So Marika is trying to find Rada and let him know about what she discovered, namely this weird thing is following her through the forest. So that's where the game opens. She's in level 1-1, which is the forest. And while she's in the forest, she notices that it is inhabited by Valan structures. What looks like they are building a fortress of some kind. I mean, she doesn't know. But, she's scouting around. As you look through the first level, you can see some clues as to where things are coming up. And, of course, you run into the Valan Empire guards. And, in level 1-1, they're, not too much of a challenge. So she makes it to Rada. And at Rada, I haven't implemented any of his scenes yet. There's a little bit of an adventure game element to this, though, because I do want to have a dialogue system. And more or less what Rada's going to do is send you on quests. And these are the second and third levels in each area. So if you remember seeing the Valan map, there are about 20 locations, but not all of them will be levels. But the ones that are, there'll be 3 levels per area, maybe 4, maybe 2. About 3, though. And they are unlocked as quests. So one of the first quests that Marika gets sent on is, in the same area she started with, the outskirts of the city-state Larica, where Harris, so you see Harris Tower, that is the same Harris that's mentioned in Towers of Vallas, he's the general. Here's another tower, actually, and this is an observation tower. And Marika is thinking maybe as a blow to the Valan Empire to go into this thing and take it down, which is actually not that hard to do because there is a generator at the top floor that can be destroyed. So she's going to make her way through Harris Tower, which, by the way, this is one of my favorite levels, both for it's vertically oriented, it's one of the more challenging levels. Yeah, you can knock people off. It's actually a relatively easy level to make your way through because you don't necessarily have to fight all these guards. You just have to kind of know how to either trick them or sneak up behind them and push them off. And then of course you see the turrets there. You have to kind of sneak around those. So she more or less breaks into this tower and makes her way through it. And this tower has a lot of little obstacles and hazards and things. And yeah, she can duck attacks from off screen. Climb around. She makes it to the very top, and that building up here, this is the top of the tower, and the door to the left is the generator room, which there's well guarded. So she fights her way through the generator room, and the twist, I've already shown the twist to this, but I made it look a lot better. So the twist is, once you destroy the generator, the whole building begins to collapse, and she has to make her way all the way to the bottom before the whole building falls down, and then she eventually gets out there. So that's the end of Act 1, which, by the way, Act is kind of used loosely because you don't have to play these in order. I just call them acts. I probably need to rename that actually so it's not confusing. But at the end of Act 1, she takes the tower down. She's now somewhat notorious with the Vallan Empire. Of course, they have bigger things to think about, but she hasn't really found out anything. She really just kind of slapped them in the face. But then we get to Act 2, which is a little more interesting. So with Act 2, she is told by Rada something. I haven't figured out all the details yet, but basically they found a little bit about this so-called new technology that the Vallan Empire has, and Rada says, well, if you want to be a hero of the city-state Lorica, then go investigate it. See what's up. So there are a couple levels in this, but she gets to the third one. This would be 2-3, which is the not the high security compound, but the there's another compound that doesn't have a name. Technology compound, I guess we can call it for now. But she makes her way up into this. Of course, this is actually kind of a more precarious area here. As far as level design goes, I'm not quite as happy with this one, but I do like it. It's grown on me. The way I do these levels, by the way, I think I've talked about this before. I sketch them out and play them, and if I kind of like them, I'll draw some decorations around it and play it again and tweak it. And this one kind of grew on me. One of the nice things about this one is probably one of the most like the kinds of levels you'd see in Prince of Persia, which was a little bit of an inspiration for this game. It's kind of a harder level, though. Of course, it should be. I mean, it's 2-3, but there are some, nice little areas where you can pull off some stunts, and it's easier to pull them off than it might look like jumping through all these, bullets here. But still, I kind of like the way this one came out. Yeah, here's another one making way through here. Of course, in this particular playthrough, I did this the dumb way. Most of these turrets have eyes, and at the top of the roof there. If you take the eyes out, the turrets can't see you. But you make way to here, and this has been shown in at least one or two of my devlogs as of late, because this is the first boss battle I've made for a game, this kind of boss battle. But this is actually intended to be boss number 2. It is a sentry sphere. That's what I decided to call them. Of course, there's actually 2 different variations. This is a sentry sphere that behaves more like a turret. So it's firing. It flies around. There's a couple of devlogs ago, if you want to see a little bit of a playthrough of this. But there's other kinds of sentry spheres too, and this is what Marika figures out once she gets through here. She defeats this one. Yeah, it comes crashing down. She's feeling kind of victorious, and then she, steps out and looks into the horizon where there's another compound, and billions of these things are just flying out of the roof, and turns out that she's got a problem on her hands, and the game picks up from there. So that's where I am so far. So like I said, I'm really pretty pleased with the way this has come out. All that's really left to do, I'd say, is go through this guy, the to-do list. Yeah, this is the problem is, and those of you that are developers, I'm sure you've been here before. You fix a bug, and the fix introduces a new bug. So, it seems like for every line I cross off of this, I add 2 lines. But eventually, it'll be whittled down. I'm not going to fix all these. I just want to fix enough of them to have a polished enough version that I can at least maybe make a playable demo of the first 2 acts, because that does tell at least a complete part of the story. That's all I have for everybody, though. So next time, I hope I'll have some more updates on gameplay. But for now, have a good one, everyone, and thank you for watching.